What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here for the first time in New York, and oh yeah, I moved. I moved to Albany, New York for work, but also the courses up here are completely different and so much fun to see and experience new courses. Today we are working on Formwork though, and I noticed that in the long, expansive 2 weeks that I was just playing disc golf, I realized that I had an issue with my distance backhand game. And while with some discs it wasn't a problem, with my go-to mayhem, that's where it seemed to be the issue. And it was the mayhem, and it was specifically throwing flat or downhill drives. Throwing uphill never seemed to be the issue. Well, every once in a while it was the issue, but for the most part the issue I was running into was I often felt like it was overturning faster and more than I was expecting it to. Then I came to realize it's the lower elevation. But I also couldn't figure out, I started literally trying to throw it into the air. I would throw it what I felt like was up here, and it would come out 3 feet off the ground. So today we're going to try to see if we can recreate the problem and then see if we can fix the problem. So we are starting on hole 3 here at Colonial Acres. We're going to go both mayhems, and it's just, right now we're just working on distance hyzers. Can we keep it in the air when you try to throw our power shot? Okay, well, that wasn't the issue that I was having. Let's see if this mayhem does it for me. That's the problem. Great, it's super straight because it doesn't have the distance or the hang time for it to stable out. But how do I keep the second one from happening and keep the first one happening? I think that's what we're going to be trying to figure out today. So then we step up to a hole like hole number 4. This is 385. So it's 60, 70, 80 feet shorter than the last hole. So theoretically, with the distance I got on the last hole with this mayhem, I should be able to reach this hole. But it's a gradual climb. And that's what gets me into trouble. When it looks flat, but it's a gradual climb, I aim at the same level that I'm normally aiming at for a downhill or a flat shot. But then the hill rises more than I'm expecting it to. So how do I get the disc to do what I want it to do at the height that I want it to do it at? And so I think it boils down to a couple main things. One of those is nose angle. I've always said that I have very good nose angle. I unfortunately have the problem where if I'm overcompensating for the nose angle, I will oftentimes shove the nose angle too far down, thus resulting in a shot that even if I'm throwing it up, immediately dives at the ground. I'm not going to try to do that here on this hole. We're going to try to throw 2 good, consistent shots, trying to focus on making sure that the nose angle doesn't get crushed too far down. Throw them on a hyzer, let them flip and do whatever they're going to do. Okay, finally some distance. Good. There's some distance from that mayhem. This one's a little bit newer, and it feels a hair flippier, so we'll see if it flips more or less. Well, that was way up in the air. So I can keep them nose up enough. Not nose up. it's not extremely nose down. And when people have done studies on this, and the ideal launch angle versus the ideal nose angle, nose should be -2 degrees, launch should be +8. It should match at 10 if you add the two solo numbers together. So where is that 8 degrees? Where is that 2 degrees? I think the issue I've been running into is I want to get more distance, so I'm compensating nose down more without compensating and actually putting in like 5-6 degrees nose down instead of 2 degrees nose down. So we talked about nose down. We also talked about the release angle. We're going to focus on release angle on this next hole. So the launch angle and the nose angle are very, very similar in that they work together, because if you're not launching up, it's going to be a lot harder to get the nose angle down. Sorry, Mayhem. If you're launching up, you can throw a disc that is basically flat, but because its trajectory is traveling this way, it's technically nose down to the direction of its trajectory. So if you're throwing a disc that is actually nose down and only releasing it about here, it's going to go straight into the ground. So we have to have moderate nose angle control without overpowering the nose angle all the way down, but still having that big distance pushing, booming shot. We need the height. There's it too low. I came through too flat. And with a nose angle that's slightly below flat, it just isn't going to travel. So how do we fix that problem? Well, you could just think, well, I'm going to throw it straight into the sky. That's one way to fix it. But then there's also the other way to fix it that I've been using when throwing my fairway drivers and the slower distance drivers, like the trail. You're trying to release it on a hyzer, but up here. So I'm going to try to do that with this Mayhem and see if that works. Try to get it to come out up here and still do the shot, but it's going to have more height. That one might be flippier. But that's a bomb. That's what we're trying to get the Mayhem to do. So if I just figured it out, trying to release up here, there is a cue that we'll talk about on the next hole. There's a cue that is very important to that if you let it slide, you will proceed to throw it straight into the ground, like the first throw right here. And we've all done it. Just take a disc, you just want to toss it to somebody, you give it loft, right? That's going to make the disc go further, easier. It's going to make the disc have a little bit softer sit down. It's also just going to make it easier to do what you're trying to get it to do if there's some air under the disc, because it functions on a principle of staying in the air because there's air under it. That being said, how do you intentionally add loft? So that cue of tossing a disc to your buddy or tossing a disc at the basket, you're moving your arm from down to up. So I try to think of it the same way. Yes, I have a little bit of a higher reach back, but even when I'm coming from here, I'm still hitting up here and making sure that my shoulder and my elbow are high, so that everything else is going to be explosive out from there. Because if I don't keep my elbow and shoulder high, straight into the ground, obviously. Let's see what we can do. This hole is uphill, so we're going to have to add even a little bit more loft if we want to get the same distance potential on this hole. Pretty distance. And now for I think this one's more stable even though it's beat up. There's the loft. That is what a mayhem is supposed to do. So we have the nose angle. We're trying to make sure that it comes out slightly nose down, not aggressively, but slightly nose down. We want to make sure that our launch angle is up, and we do that by increasing our loft, keeping our shoulder and elbow high for the remainder of that follow through. Now, let's go through 2 more shots. Let's see if we can put it all together. And so while on flat ground, I still max out somewhere around 400 to 420 range, even with the Mayhem's full flighting. Being able to throw them properly, have the correct amount of loft, have the correct amount of nose down, having the correct amount of power and spin is going to give them its best chance at doing what it's supposed to do and maybe cresting over that range. This hole's 411, so theoretically I should be able to get close to it with these 2 discs. So let's see if we add it all together. And now the wind wants to pick up, so this will be interesting. Oh, that was too low. I hit my chest on the way through. Just came through and smacked it. Well, see if we can at least try this off. See if we can have a good shot on the second one. Man, what happened there? There's our loft. Close to pin high. So we may not quite be all the way to reaching this today. I at least am glad that I'm able to get them to come out where they're supposed to be coming out at. So hopefully you guys found some of this useful, some of this helpful. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff though, make sure to comment all of that down below. Please make sure to subscribe. It helps you guys out with these subscriber-only giveaways. And if you want to be automatically entered into monthly giveaways, check out the memberships as well. Until next time, see you out in the course.